Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Legacy, and at the request of Patreon subscriber King of the Depths, I am playing with the card Starfield Shepherd. That was the entire prompt from King of the Depths. Wanted to see Starfield Shepherd on the channel, the rest was up to me. Obviously, my first thought went to Up the Beanstalk, and then I thought, I play a lot of versions of Up the Beanstalk on the channel, and can I do something a little more interesting? Show some range, perhaps? And I found this awesome deck list from Magic Online user Dominique Tudor, who is a person I've played against a number of times. I know they're a brewer and usually come up with some cool stuff, and this is not a disappointment. Starfield Shepherd is a 3/2 angel with flying. When it enters, search your library for a basic plains or a creature card with a mana value 1 or less, reveal it and put it in your hand, and it has warp for 1 and a white. This card does two things. It does the surface level thing, which is we need to have a deck that contains basic plains, and this deck has 2, and 1-drops that are worth tutoring. This deck has a bunch of those. Oscillate Pride's Guide of Souls, we're familiar with their work at this point. Modern Horizons 3 has been out for nearly 2 years at this point. Or is it 2.5 years? I looked it up. I was right the first time. It's a little over 1.5 years. Its second birthday will be this summer. We're very familiar with these cards and their presence in especially Modern, but they've also been a new legacy archetype has emerged around them. The energy shell, the white energy shell, whatever we're calling that as a society. But Starfield Shepherd can get either half of that combo. And then the other thing Starfield Shepherd does, which is less printed on the card and more aspirational as an idea, is how do we cheat this warp? We got a 3/2 into play. It's there until the end of the turn, then it's gone, then it costs 5 next time we see it. What are we doing with that? And for that, we have Felia, Exuberant Shepherd, another Modern and Legacy all-star multi-format staple. When it attacks, exile a non-land permanent, and then that non-land permanent comes back in the end step if it was yours, put a +1 counter on Felia. Stick Felia, Warp in Shepherd, attack, blink Shepherd out, warp trigger doesn't do anything anymore, and we get this 3/2 forever, and we've tutored twice, great deal. Quantum Riddler, same thing, but a random card instead of a tutor. But this deck also features Aang Swift Savior. 1 white-blue, flash flying. When Aang enters, airbend up to 1 target creature or spell. What airbending means is exile it. While it's exiled, its owner may pay 2 colorless mana for it, or 2 generic mana, it doesn't have to be colorless, rather than its mana cost. And then you can waterbend to transform Aang, which I would normally jokingly refer to as flavor text, but in a deck with Oscillate Pride, I can absolutely see transforming Aang being part of this deck's mid or end game. But the important thing is this is a spell queller. Like, you can use it as tempo. Your opponent casts a spell, you flash an Aang, that spell is gone. It costs 2 mana for them to do it again. It's also a kind of mana war, Oblivion Ring, whatever. Exile your opponent's Delver of Secrets. It costs 2 to replay it, and it's back on the front. Or, of course, you can exile your own stuff, which might be a bit harder to do, because if we were going to warp in Starfield Shepherd and then use Aang to airbend it, that's 5 mana. We could have just cast Starfield Shepherd. I don't know how often that's going to come up, but Aang is a tempo threat that can also protect your things. It can come in and airbend Felia out of the way of a removal spell. Just a really cool card. One of the ones that really stood out on the Avatar spoiler to me as, like, this is just Spell Queller with combo potential. And Spell Queller was a staple the entire time it was in Standard. That was a staple of early Modern as well. And the other new card in this deck is Momo, Friendly Flyer. It costs a white, which means we can tutor it with Starfield Shepherd. 1/1 flying. The first non-lemur you cast each turn with flying costs 1 less. That makes Aang cost 2 instead of 3. That's a good deal. It lets you warp for 1 on both Starfield Shepherd and Quantum Riddler. That's pretty good. And you get a free mana on Mockingbird. Oh, if you have Momo and Mockingbird is your first creature spell of the turn, X is automatically 1. And we're not going that high up the chain here, but it could help you copy a Barrowglyph a turn ahead of schedule, or copy an Orcish Bowmaster, pick it off with a mana still up. Pretty sweet. This deck is full of cards that make me excited, even though this is not the type of deck I would ever build or play on my own. But I am very excited to try it. Let's do it. This is Azorius Airbend from King of the Depths and Dominique Tudor. I am on the play in round 1. I'm representing turn 2 Aang if I want to go that way. I don't think I do. I am going to keep, though. I've got mana to play the game. We'll have a Guide of Souls. Just going in on that. If I was certain my opponent was on Show and Tell, I might prioritize things differently. But I don't have that information. It's a little Fatal Push, and unlucky for my opponent, I drew the same card again. So I'll do that again. Wasting first so they can't daze me. I could also use Wasteland to pay for days, but that's the same but worse, because then I can't waste them. Alright, we're getting a turn. Some action. If this is Dimir Tempo, the white energy shell is really good against this deck. Once you get going, they have basically no way to catch up. You can outmuscle a Barrow-Goyf, you can overtax the 4 Fatal Pushes they usually play. They can't really combo out over top of you. Kaito sucks. Bowmaster has limited impact on this game. Okay, snuff out. There we go. Opponent had free interaction. That does make things better for them. But I will continue drawing the same card over and over again. You can't stop me. I play 17 of these. I know it's not fair, but there's no judges on Magic Online to check. And if opponent wants to daze this and pick up their tap land, I'm just going to live with that. I played Dread of Night at Eternal Weekend when I played Blue-Black Tempo just because we needed some way to clean up Oslet Pride tokens. And it was also good against Nomads Encore, and Nadu was legal at the time. It wasn't just for this, but it was nice to have. I do think about cards like Toxic Deluge every time I build Dimir these days, because you gotta respect go wide strats. Okay, I finally triggered a Guide of Souls, the 3rd one of the game. Good thing my opponent had 2 removal spells, though, or I would have be try-guiding it. Try Guys. That's a YouTube channel. The Try Guides. Bowmaster does have a target here, but they're going for Brainstorm instead. This main phase Brainstorm, after making a land drop, they have a black spell just lined up that they want to play already, guaranteed. When my opponent makes a play like playing a second land, then brainstorming without the ability to shuffle evident, I take note of it. I assume they know their hand better than I do. That's just a fact, and that they're building a plan that this black man is pretty important for. But I also have to take note that it is strange to do it that way. You can think of reasons to do it that way, which is why I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but it is strange. Ponder, okay. Ponder can shuffle a Brainstorm, or they can sculpt a perfect hand forever. We'll see which version this is. They did shuffle, okay. Arid Mesa, okay, that can get Tundra, which is great, because now I don't even have to goof around with the Sink into Stupor. And now Aang can either bend one of their spells, or protect one of my creatures from removal. And I am playing around Daze, because Aang costs 2, thanks to Momo. Him to Turok, okay, well, I guess I'm losing this card anyway. Tundra, Aang. Oh wait, is it on my turn? Oh, during your turn? Shit. I worked so hard to set up that 2-mana Aang, and now I'm just in Daze range anyway. But I was losing the card, so if they Daze here to not even get an extra card, him would only discard 1. We can live with that. And airbending this him here is actually kind of sick, because there's a good chance I'm just Hellbent next turn naturally. I draw a card, I'll probably play it. Sink into Stupor, gets played as a land. Okay. Ended up getting Daze and him out. That was a 2 for 2. And I redrew the card that they just discarded. I've been really good at doing that. But my plan to play around Daze obviously foiled by the fact that my card doesn't do what I thought it does. Wasteland's a beating. Okay, I think I'm just gonna float blue and let that die. If they play a Murktide here, that's tough. But I can bend it if I find another blue mana. We know one of their 4 cards in hand is Underground Sea. Yep, that is exactly the thing I was worried about. Oh, they played Wasteland this turn, that's right. I was about to say, they didn't replay the land, that's suspicious. But it's not actually suspicious, it's just how the card works. Alright, I'm gonna bend this Murktide out and hope that Force Blue card aren't the 2 unknowns in hand. I have not actually seen this interaction before, but it does make sense to me that my opponent should be able to delve 2 to airbend the Murktide into play. Okay, opponent is officially Hellbent. That was a nice one against my deck. All right. It's starting to slip away. A Swords to Plowshares gets me back in. An Ocelot Pride lets me do stuff. Another Aang's obviously great. Velia. All right, well, I'm just going to pass here. Momo has to chump block this turn. Oh, Wasteland. All right, I'm going to cast Velia around Daze while I still can. This puts the cards literally on the table. But it's not like they're not going to Fatal Push or Bowmaster if they could kill Momo here anyway. Yeah, okay. Easy, squeaky clean. I drew extremely well that game. Opponent just had it covered. Funny story about this Curious Farm Animals. I saw it just kind of at the back of the list when I copy-pasted it, and I thought it said Copious Farm Animals, and having Copious Farm Animals around is really funny to me. Unfortunately, that's not what's actually going on. This is also not a card for this matchup. Solitude is, though. And then I have to decide how many Force of Wills I want access to. It could be 0. It could be 2. The only other card I'd bring in here is Unlicensed Hearse. They have Murktide, Barrogoyf. I think Dimir Tempo has moved past Nethergoyf at this point. Having 2 forces in the deck gives me something to say no with, where I otherwise don't have much of it. I think I do want to go 0 forces on the play. This deck is actually kind of above average at dealing with a Murktide in the main deck. I just didn't have the access on the times I needed it on the play for game 2, because that's how losing works. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to lead on Tundra, because if they spend time wastelanding me when I have functionally 4 more lands in play, I'm not even mad. Mockingbird does not have any copies, is non-legendary text on it. Oh, copying Momo does not multiply the bonus, it just kills Momo. And here Momo is letting me scam Starfield Shepherd while playing around Daze. Did not shuffle their Ponder. All right, I'm going to warp this for a single mana, which will make Momo bigger before combat. And I think here I want to tutor Guide of Souls, but I'm not going to use it yet. Next turn I can play Guide of Souls and copy it with Mockingbird without turning Daze on. But this is what Daze decks want. They want you to play around Daze. So even when they don't have it, it's like they do. And that's something you as a Daze player can do to manipulate your opponent. If you see that your opponent is always playing around Daze, you can just board them out. I'm going to go for my Meticulous Archive here. They might Bowmaster in response, but that's fine. That's not really the fight we're fighting. Solitude. Interesting. I think I do want to bank that for later, even though it's not really what I'm trying to do right now. All right, Bowmaster. I can kill that with Mockingbird. I would love for Guide of Souls to be in play before that happens, but I think it's even worse for me if that gets Daze now. If they hadn't killed Momo, this whole line would be around Daze because Mockingbird would only cost 1 to copy Bowmaster. Bowmaster, kill Bowmaster. And I'm going to pass here. They may have also boarded out their forces in a fair matchup like this, at least some number of them, which means they're more reliant on Daze, but they're on the draw, which might make it more likely that they still have Dazes but don't have forces. And then they'll switch those numbers. Or no, it's more likely that they have forces than Dazes on the draw. Okay, this attack is the world's most obvious Orcish Bowmaster, so I'm not going to block. They make this attack because if I block with my 1/1 army, then they get to ping Bowmaster and their army is 2/2, and they get to win the combat. I will at least keep my Orc army in this version of events. Wasting Caracas is pretty powerful. I only have one of those, and I do play a bunch of legends it could protect. Drawing lands, I like that. I'm going to get the Guide of Souls in there. And then I'm going to go with Unlicensed Hearse. This is something that is fine if it resolves, but isn't going to break my heart if it gets dazed, as I work my way up to these 2 5-drops I have access to. All right, I'm going to exile Ponder and Bowmaster immediately, and then I can pass the turn. Bowmaster attacking, you got it. Still not interacting, because these 2 creatures together can crew Unlicensed Hearse, and I can block with a 4/4 next turn. Strix, you got it. And then a land. Tameo. Okay, yep. Wasting my Caracas makes additional sense there. My own Wasteland. I don't think wastelanding them is going to win me this game, but having 5 mana might win me this game. Now this is a chill spot. If you got Tamiyo and Orc Army attacking, I'm going to do the Unlicensed Hearse thing. Try to deal with this Orc Army. If they have another Bowmaster, they can get up to 4 damage on the Hearse. They try to make this a 4/4 before damage. Okay, so I can let them deal the damage and then sink into Stupor the Orc Army. Or I can take the trade and keep my sink into Stupor, which is also my 5th land. I think that's fine. This Hearse has done enough, and I'd really like to get into the 5-drop phase of this game. Thalia complicates things. That card is obviously excellent and lets me play around Daze a little longer. I could ram Starfield Shepherd into Daze. The only time I tested Daze is Unlicensed Hearse. Alright, I'm shopping in the Springs and playing Starfield Shepherd. A Force of Will, great. Force pitching Murktide is a deal all day. This Tamiyo is going to start refilling them soon, but if they used Force in that spot, that means they don't have Daze. And Tamiyo is their only real attacker here. Yeah, Strix can get in as well. That does let me push back. I wonder if they have Kaito to justify that attack. Another Strix, sure. Yeah, this build is grindier with the hymns and the Strixes. Opponent is in their bag over there doing stuff. All right, this land can flip Tamiyo guaranteed. And they are choosing to do that. I'm not going to pitch Solitude on that. I'll try to figure it out. Thalia flickering that is a way through it. Swords to Plowshares right on time. Yeah, I think I just passed the turn here. I have Plow plus Thalia available. They can minus Tamiyo, picking up the Force in the graveyard, and I just have to do some stuff in response. That's especially good if they have the 5th land here. But I can waste them to turn that back off, at least on 1-for-1 basis. But I don't want to waste them because that burns my Solitude unless I draw a white card or land, which is most of the deck. Is there any card in my deck that's not a white card or a land? There is the Unlicensed Hearse I didn't board in. Or I did board in. And Quantum Riddlers. And Mockingbird. That's kind of it. But Mockingbird also becomes Bowmaster, which is good against what they're doing. A tap land, hell yeah. Doing that before I have to make any decisions is nice. Kept the card that they do also have immediate access to because of the Clue token. I don't have high hopes for this Thalia, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to plow a Strix in the end step. So I am going to have to do some combat stuff. Thalia, at least resolved. That doesn't mean it's going to stay in play. I have 1 energy. Snuff Out paying the life when they did have access to the mana is a little sus. I can play around Daze here, but that does very little. Solitude, clear the other Strix, I guess. Not being a big player of this type of game, or this type of deck, makes me wonder if I was just supposed to ignore Daze early, because they didn't have it, which doesn't mean I was wrong to play around it, but it does mean that if I had just shoved that Guide of Souls into Mockingbird all the way back on turn 3, I would have more energy, more board presence, and might not be about to lose to a Tamiyo ultimate. Pondered and didn't shuffle. That's probably the death rattle. A Murktide is in. That's a pretty big blocker. Ooh, picking up Force of Will instead of trying to go ultimate. I am hellbent with no action. That felt like a good spot to push for a Tamiyo, but you're the boss. I am happy that happened. I'm not happy to draw a land. Does wasting them twice do anything at this phase of the game? I could turn off Hardcast Force, but I can do that anytime. Yeah, I'm not even going to play this land out. I don't think it benefits me to be in play. Murktide is attacking me. I'm going to wasteland them in combat to constrict their mana a little bit. I'm planning on wasting them anyway, and doing it now at least makes, Ponders and Barragoyfs a little more awkward. Brainstorm works, though. Remember when I had an Orcish Bowmaster in play? I missed that card. I'm dead to this Murktide next turn, even through Solitude life gain, because Tamiyo will plus, and then I only gain 2. Hardcast Kaito. Alright, maybe I should have wastelanded twice. The problem is most of my good cards cost 5, and they're a Daze deck. I'm still dead to Kaito next turn. That's not all the way true. Okay. Plow the Murktide. We know there's a Force of Will in hand. Is there a blue card to go with it? Yep. Okay. Yeah, like I said, this matchup can be tough for them if you get the engine going, but if you don't, they're just a very similar deck with bigger creatures and cantrips to select what they're seeing every turn where you're just drawing one card. So I did not get my engine going that game, and maybe I'm not supposed to board an unlicensed hearse. Maybe I'm not supposed to respect days in that early spot where I had a chance to like 3-for-1 them and get a bunch of energy. Okay. I'm learning. On to the next round.
This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks, and groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Moxfield to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there.
I'm on the play in round 2 versus none other than Eco Baronin. I am going to keep my hand. I've got the grindy hand here. Eco Baronin is much more likely to be playing some top tier deck than I am. And he's content to grind just Dimir Tempo or whatever affinity, like whatever deck he believes in on that day of the week, right into the ground, where I am beholden to stakeholders to play different decks. I expect this to be a real deck. Ponder. Island Ponder. That's the realest open there is. Didn't shuffle. I'm going to get my archive, try to smooth this out. I'm just looking for basically any spell. Do I want another Rizzler? This lets me pitch more stuff to force. I don't think I want this. I have a critical mass of blue cards. I have a critical mass of warp 5-drops. That's just not really what I'm here to do. Starfield Shep. Guide of Souls versus Oscillate Pride. Heads up on an empty board. I think I want Guide of Souls in this environment. Cycling Lorien Revealed. Or Underground Sea. My thoughts. Alright, well, you can seize them. Ponder Lorien Revealed Underground Sea. What deck plays all of these cards these days? Is this a show and tell deck with a black splash? Certainly playing like it's a combo deck, stripping that force. Felia, my Shep. And I'm going to play Guide of Souls past the turn and hope I'm not dead. Felia is one of the better cards I could have access to if this game goes another turn. Thoughtseize again. Alright, I'm going to play out Felia. This loses my action, but I am on board and doing stuff. Which is better than I was a second ago. Ancient Tomb, yeah, this reads like show and tell all day. Okay, well, I have nothing to put in. You can't choose land. Omniscience. Alright, what's the holdup? You've seen my hand. There's no spells on the stack. There's nothing to think about here. Just pass the turn. Pass the turn, let me bounce that thing. That's what I need. Tamiyo cast with Omniscience. Brainstorm flips Tamiyo. I guess it's possible this was non-deterministic, but this is a lot of cards and a lot of damage being absorbed. Second Omniscience. Alright, so now that play is not even there. Tamiyo can pick Brainstorm back up next turn. Interesting. Alright, well, that was a good draw. Now I'm at least doing something with this turn. Ocelot Pride. And if I flicker out Ocelot Pride, I get an extra energy, but I don't get a Cat Buddy. I think I want to flicker out Guide of Souls here. First, I'm going to play Soporific Springs and see if Tamiyo is going to leave play. If Tamiyo's out of play, then I don't have to think about him picking up Brainstorm or Lorien Revealed and just going nuts. Like, if this doesn't resolve, I have to flicker out Tamiyo instead. Days. Fuck my life. Alright. That card's really good. Can't prevent that. Okay, attack my opponent, flicker out Tamiyo. I'm just definitely not beating Lorien Revealed out of the graveyard. Alright, F6. I was not expecting this deck to have Days. I don't know why, but that was the last card in his hand, so... And he knows the other two from Brainstorm, which, if they were game enders, he would have played them last turn because he has Omniscience. This might be a development turn. You could crack the clue and do another thing. Okay. Just pass with the clue up. Starfield Shepherd. Does playing that do anything? What else would I do with my mana? Nothing? Yeah, Shepherd. I could Shepherd twice this turn. Okay. Starfield Shepherd. Nothing else is going to happen. So, like, I'm living by the skin of my ass here. I guess I want Mockingbird. Do I want Mockingbird and then Guide of Souls or just 2 Guide of Souls? I guess I'll take Mockingbird. It's at least a blue card. Okay. Attack my opponent. Felia is going to target Shepherd. Guide of Souls is going to target Ocelot Pride. This is a pretty big crunch of damage, but, I mean, doesn't need mana anymore, so it doesn't matter. All right, I've got some triggers in the end step. Already blessed by the city. Opponent's plan is going to be crack this clue in the end step, draw whatever that blank was that Brainstorm saw, and then it's going to be hope that there's a card that wins the game there. So I'm getting another Guide of Souls. Ocelot Pride does the thing. All right, well, one of us is dead here. Tamiyo can make another clue, so this is 2 fresh looks. We know right now who's going to win the game. Block Tamiyo with my 3/2 flying. Brainstorm. All right, well, now we know who's going to win the game. Or my opponent does. I don't necessarily. I have enough energy that I can push through a Tamiyo emblem. Opponent actually does have to do it somehow here. I might even have enough permanence to survive an Emrakul attack. Okay, second main, what do we got? Plus Tamiyo. Don't slow roll me, bro. Undercity Sewers, that's a good one. Ancient Tomb in the Graveyard. Stock up shit. That's so many cards. All right, the chain has begun. Brick, 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 brick. Another Tamiyo. Don't do that. Don't give me hope. Oh my god. I'm getting a turn. And I drew Force of Will. Fascinating. Okay, Guide of Souls. Enter the battlefield. Or at least enter the stack. I have 3 3-power creatures, and I can get a 4th. That is exactly enough to win through a Tamiyo block, which means I think this Force of Will is on Force of Will duty, and I won't be mocking any birds. Okay, you force my Guide of Souls. I go to combat. I flicker out Tamiyo. You take 2, 4, 6, 8. All right, that resolves. I'm just going to go to combat and go face. 1 card in hand, and I can force it. Attack, 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 attack. I guess I don't have to attack with Guide of Souls. I can make it a cat token, because whatever I attack with gets the buff. It doesn't really matter. Okay, attack, Felia, target Tamiyo. I don't even need to attack with anything else. The Guide of Souls could put on anything. That's just how that card works. I think I do want to diversify my threats here, though. Okay, this looks like 8 damage to me. What's that last card in your hand, and does it beat Force of Will? And, like, channeling Otawara still doesn't do it because you have to tap Ancient Tomb, and that's still lethal. Wow, the dummies got it done. Who cares? 2 Omnisciences? Doesn't matter how big your brain is if you're dead. Hell yeah. All right. Opponent just bricked on, like, a look at 20 cards or something, but we take those. Okay, Force of Negation clearly coming in. The copious farm animals could, I guess, come in response, like come in off a show and tell and then clip an Omniscience. An opponent would get 1 spell to cast instead of infinite. Damping Sphere does impact the card Omniscience. Like if my opponent just ram show and tell, that could slow him down. Also, this makes Ancient Tomb tap for 1. I don't want to over sideboard here, but I do want to at least think about my options. Containment Priest turns off just raw dogging an Emrakul. But I think these Omniscience decks are down to like 1 or 2 creatures. I don't need Swords of Plowshares. Witch Enchanter is also doing what I want the farm animals to do, which is arrive and kill Omniscience. And Witch Enchanter is better at doing it because it doesn't cost extra mana and it creates a trigger immediately, so opponent doesn't even get priority once. Momo seems insanely mid, especially now understanding that it doesn't make and cost 2. I'm not cutting any blue cards. All my threats are in, all my interactions in, all my good interaction plus some dubious interaction, my dubious farm animals. Solitude can answer Emrakul or Atraxa, but so can Karakas. And Felia is not very good at it, but it technically kind of works. Okay, I think I'm going with this. Looking at the list here on paper, I'm not even convinced this matchup's that bad. Okay, I'm going to keep. Because if opponent rams show and tell, I have Damping Sphere and Caracas, both of which are good against the deck. Caracas is also good against this turn 1 Tameo. How about you put that in your hand? And if he takes his time setting up Thought Seizing me and stuff, then I kind of want my hand to look like a bunch of mid stuff. All right, Cycling Glorian. This turns on black. Here's the Thoughtseize. You got me. I suspect I'll lose Felia here. She just seems like the best card in my hand, unless opponent values tapping me out of Caracas, where I could play Guide of Souls leaving Caracas up. Yep, Felia's gone. I'm going to fetch a Tundra and play Guide of Souls. Not leading on Damping Sphere here fails to play around Ancient Tomb, put in Omniscience, cast 1 spell. But knowing that Tameo's in hand, I don't want to tap out of the Caracas if I don't have to. And I don't really have to. It's not like my hand's doing a lot. Opponent knows I can't have Force blue card because I've only drawn 1 card since he's seen my hand. And even if it's Force, it's not blue. There's Tameo. Ancient Tomb confirmed. If I bounce this in the end step, it could Brainstorm, but then Tameo can't activate. I can put 1 damage on it down to 3. That's at least something. And then Damping Sphere can come down and make this Ancient Tomb worse. Ooh, Ang. I do like Ang, but not more than I like Damping Sphere. Attack Tameo. No energy, which is how I feel right now. The flavor is perfect. Ancient Tomb still deals 2 to you when you tap it, but it only makes 1 mana. It's the best of every world. Ponder, that's 1 spell. Now my opponent can't even show and tell if he has it. So just Damping Sphere doing its job here. It doesn't turn off my opponent's deck, but it buys me time to operate. And Ang plus Caracas, we got a little soft lock going here. Shuffle the Ponder. Come on, deck. Anything that does anything would be great. Or, you know, more fetch lands. Those are cool too, I guess. All right, now we settle into the Tameo game. Opponent missed a land drop last turn too. That's cool. Okay, what I can do here is hang and bend my Guide of Souls. I don't want my opponent to have Fatal Pushback. And the Guide of Souls is not applying pressure anyway because of Tameo. All right, can Force of Will this turn, spending 3 life and 2 cards to do it, but with Tameo on the board, who cares? All right, I am now in trouble. It is active Tameo versus nothing. But Felia can switch that up. Damping Spheres do stack, so if opponent jams Showing Tell here, the next spell will cost 2 out of Omniscience, and then the next one 4. Thoughtseize, you can have my other Damping Sphere. 2 cards left in hand. Omni Show needs 3 to do anything. It needs the show, the Omni, and the action. Finding Force of Will the turn after I've been Thoughtseized is pretty fire. I could invest Omniscience this turn and then pass and whatever. But I will hardcast Force. Pew pew. This cost me my Meticulous Archive, but it keeps this Show and Tell off my ass. But Tameo can just pick it up next turn. But again, it's off my ass. We'll take that. Tameo's also ultimate next turn, which is so much worse. All right, deck. It's not funny anymore. I hate you so much. All right, Tameo draws half the deck here, and then we'll see if half the deck can beat Damping Sphere. Enjoy all those cards. What are you going to do with them? You think I would concede to this? You're out of your mind. Thoughtseize me. Do it. My opponent knows Basic Plains is my hand, so there's no reason to Thoughtseize me here. Doing it anyway. Just hates having life. That's a deal. Barrogoyf. Okay. I don't have very many answers to that left. It's not a legend. It's just legendarily brutal in Legacy. Alright, Sink Into Stupor on top. I'll take anything I can that buys me part of a turn, even though this doesn't, because my opponent definitely has Force of Will in there. 21 card hand. Alright, you figured it out. Alright, I gotta beat Barrogoyf, which the other Momo is gonna come out. I could get some Solitudes in for that late game. I mentioned that the first time around. That Damping Sphere actually was pretty cool. It wasn't enough because I wasn't doing anything else, but it was pretty cool. It was effective in the job it was supposed to be doing. Do I want these copious farm animals? No, too copious. Fewer farm animals. 2 solitudes in. If I have any creatures doing anything, Barragoyf is beatable. It's not like I must remove Barragoyf or I lose. I just need something going on underneath. I think this is okay. The only other thing I would do is try to go exactly 1 Swords to Plowshares in. The Containment Priest works with Felia also. Like, it stops down and dirty show and tell animal, but it also lets me blink out Barragoyfs. But it also stops me from blinking my Solitudes and Angs and stuff, so not super excited about that when it's not massively impactful. Okay, this is what I'm doing. On the play, can I get an aggressive start? No, I do have Force Blue card and Caracas and a sideboard card. All right, I will keep this. It is the bare minimum bar of keepability, unfortunately, but talked me into it just enough. I'm good against a turbo show and tell either way. I can either bounce a legend if they put that in directly, or put in Witch Enchanter if they have Omniscience. I might have to force a Will Thoughtseize here. Pitching Ang. Because if I get my sink into Stupor Thoughtseize, I might not even play the game. That's my land. All right, I'm going to force pitching Ang and hope I don't regret it. Okay, cool. Got away with that one. Sink into Stupor, play that on the land side, and I'd like my Damping Sphere in play. Now I can't get shown or told this turn. And if he goes Tamiyo, can't Brainstorm immediately to flip it. I don't like having a blue land in play, like mono blue land. That's just so bad at casting every spell in the deck. I found a land that's probably going to do some surveilling. Shocking in Witch Blast Meadow. Opponent should be suspicious of that because I have this Caracas, and Witch Enchanter is good against show and tell. That's double suspicious. Ooh. I do like this guy, but I don't like putting down the Witch Enchanter to try to get it online. I'm going to accept just drawing 1 card here. Fatal Push in response, you got me. Shepherd, okay. I drew those in the wrong order. But Shepherd is a welcome sight next turn. I also now can put in Witch Enchanter off of show and tell, or I could pitch something to Solitude to deal with Barragoyf. Dumped an Ancient Tomb. Yep, that card's pretty bad. Versus Damping Sphere. If Barragoyf resolves, and I should Solitude now when my opponent can't answer it because of Damping Sphere. Something to do? A land. All right. That represents Rizzler next turn if I'm willing to put away the Witch Enchanter. Definitely just hoping for the Omniscience here, though. Nope, too smart. Can't trick this opponent. A land gets Riddler online. Anything else is a spell. This does tap me out of Caracas, but, you know, fuck it, we're here. This is what we're doing. I get to draw 2 cards off of this, and pass the turn. Have I died? I don't have enough permanents to survive an Emrakul hit. If opponent has show and tell, Omniscience, cast Emrakul with the 1 extra mana. Okay. We're in business, team. An attack with Rizzler. Then I'll play Oslet Pride. And I could play the other Damping Sphere, but I would much rather play Felia. I used Fatal Push on that. That's great. Felia is the important one. Okay, opponent is representing Hardcast Force of Will, but Caracas can protect this Felia. Quantum Riddler passive ability kicks in here. We got a GG in the chat. Can't get through this? All right. I guess, I mean, I don't know his hand, but I assume Damping Sphere is cutting off whatever else opponent's playing to and just doesn't think he can beat this draw engine. Cool. We defeated a powerful player on a powerful combo deck with our little white shitheads. On to the next round. The BoshNRoll channel is brought to you by Tales of Adventure. TOAMagic.com has almost 100,000 unique cards in stock. They offer free track shipping on every order, plus next day or 2-day options when you have an event coming up fast. They offer on-site pickup at major Magic events throughout the US, so you're never scrambling before your tournament. Stop by their booth to buy, sell, or trade at upcoming regional championships, Magic Con, Spotlight Series, and more. I love their selection of individually scanned high-end cards that show you exactly what you're buying. And the best part is saving 5% on every order with promo code BOSH. From Ancestral Recall to Zombie Master, get what you need quickly and in one place at TOAMagic.com. Eternal lives here. I'm on the draw in round 3 versus someone whose username is Grandfather Taxes and they're an 80 card Yorion deck. If this is the Yorion Oops deck, I'm quitting Magic, but otherwise I'm ready to game. Okay, we've got a Mother of Runes, and I'm going to try to go apeshit here with Guide of Souls. The drawing Force of Will is actually huge here. This lets me get much more aggressive than I may have been otherwise. Because I could have played an Oscillate Pride this turn, and the next turn go Guide of Souls plus Oscillate Pride and guarantee a trigger where it's harder to interact with the Guide of Souls in between. White Orchid Phantom. I am full of basic lands. Go nuts. Oh, right. Inflections of Trocare. That makes sense. Ramping also makes sense. That's still, I'm never going to force that, but I did also forget that they could target their own thing. And this is going to be basically a bloodbath of who can outmuscle who. My opponent has engines online, but I'm going to have a stupid number of homies. Okay, here we go. Time to go completely insane and see if opponent can catch up. I'm not quite blessed by the city, but it's close. I do have to produce creatures, though, to keep this going, because I don't actually have attacks. Caracas, that's a potential target for Wasteland. Oh, baby. All right, that is a creature, and a good one. No Wasteland this Caracas. Now, I could have saved that for Aang, but that's not what I'm about. I guess I do have Guide of Souls, don't I? Ooh, Ophelia. Is this worth a Force of Will? What does this do? It deletes a cat, but I can overcome a cat. You get into some White Orchid Phantom business. Could reset an Oscillate Pride. I think I want to hold my Force of Will for something better. Okay, I'm actually casting Ophelia now. Or no, that doesn't give me enough energy. All right, I'm going to attack with an Oscillate Pride and stat it up. I still don't gain life here, but I can make them tap their Mother of Runes, which they have to decide if they want to do or not. I block, tap, fair enough. And welcome to the city. Here we go. End step, trigger, and end step in the city trigger. Pew, 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 pew. Okay. Crazy. I'm doing the thing. Is it good enough? Oh, yeah. Tapping right out on that one. Solitude, I generally like Consigned to Memory versus Death and Taxes. I'll take inventory in a minute here and see if I still like it versus this version of Death and Taxes. Copious Farm Animals. Do I want access to that? That hits Aether Vials, various weapons that could fall out of Stoneforge Mystic. Stony Silence does a little bit. Containment Priest does a little bit. I'm not bringing in Stony Silence. That's not actually happening. I'm 100% on Solitude, 90% on Consign, and then much lower, like 50 or below on these two. It really comes down to what the cuts would be. I normally don't love Force of Will versus Taxes decks, but I think I am trying to run them over so fast that it's worth it. Momo seems kind of mid here. They're a deck with 4 Caracas and lots of good creatures. That gets me my Solitudes. Do I have 2 slots for Momo? Or for Consigned to Memory. Momo just left. We're not bringing him back in. I think into Super is a land. This deck's blue count is actually pretty not that good for Force of Will. And I am trying to get 2 blue cards in. They are a mana denial deck, so I can't mess around too much with the land stuff. Yeah, there's only 18 blue cards in this deck, even. And 20 is usually the right number to support Force of Will. Maybe I can... Nope. Trying to figure this out is tough. I think I'm just going to skip on the consigns and do this then. Consign can also scam in the Warpers. But I'm out of things I want to cut. All right, Solitude's going to have to be enough. I've run out of time to figure it out. Hey, there is a land in this hand, although it's a suspicious one. I think I mulligan this, even though it's so close. All right, mulligan. With basic planes, I keep that hand. All right, I will keep this one. And Sink is my blue land to play Mockingbird and Riddler. Plow's really good. Basically, all of these cards are good. Witch Enchanter seems like the worst one. Okay. That's gone. Flagstones, Aether Vial. There's a target for Witch Enchanter, but that wouldn't have happened for a very long time anyway. I guess I could have Force of Willed that. Yeah, I probably should have forced that. I was thinking about Force a little too much in terms of protecting my aggression, but I don't have aggression right now. So what am I doing? White Orchid Phantom. I think I'm just going to plow this immediately. Well, I'm going to let them resolve their effect, and then I'll plow it. They had the opportunity to tutor a non-white color last game and didn't, but now they suddenly have black mana. Spooky. Spirit of the Lab. I am going to plow here because my plan is to Riddler. Oh, does that change my plan? I think it does. I think I'd rather have 2 Ocelot Prides in play. Okay, Ocelot Pride. Soporific Springs. Mockingbird becomes a flying Ocelot Pride. They'd have to have Solitude to fight over this. Okay. The flying one getting the first life next turn could be huge. It's Aether Vial. Rough beats if they do have Bowmaster to pick off my flyer. Stoneforge Mystic. I think I'm priced into Force of Will here. That card's just going to be too good. And what's left over there? Am I dead? Tapped Witchblessed Meadow. If I attack with 2 of these, one's more likely to get through, but also one is more likely to get run over on the ground. I could just attack with 1 of just the flyer. That gets blown up by Swords to Plowshares. And they clearly have a 2-drop, or else they wouldn't have cast Stoneforge Mystic. I'm just going to take the guaranteed point here and hope that it was Felia. They were trying to sneak in on me and I can cover it with Caracas. Okay, Vialing now. It is indeed Felia. And I guess I can pass. Leaving Vial on 2 might just be for Felia. Pre-war Formalware. That sucks. That gets back Stoneforge Mystic. I still have the Flying Ocelot Pride. Doing work. And I will have the City's Blessing next turn. Meteor's Sword is online. I'm going to clear Felia before it can flicker Formalware or Stoneforge. I don't want either of those things to happen. Ooh, that's a good one. Might not be good enough, but it is a good one. The Flying Ocelot go in. And step trigger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have Caracas too, so trying to Felia here doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It does get me extra cats though. All right, I will play my Felia and see if I can spam extra cats out. Okay, I did get the extra cats out of that. Okay, bouncing my Felia after the window. So I could have had slightly fewer cats here than I do. Bounce Felia because that's happening. There's no reason to pretend it's not. And now can I overwhelm Meteor Sword? If they have Wrath of the Skies, I am instantly deleted. If they don't, we're gaming. Vial ticked up for the first time since turn 2. Suddenly interested in 3-drops. Oh no, they seem to be paying for an X-Spell. Okay, that stinks. It does kill their Aether Vial though. If they put energy into it, which they don't have to. Okay, so tick that Vial up to 3, then didn't use it, then killed it. Their hand is Meteor Sword plus Felia right now, and they can use Meteor Sword with their mana, because Stoneforge has Vig. Meticulous Archive, get in here. And a Swords to Plowshares largely stabilizes the game. Ooh. Would I like to draw a bunch of cards and let them kill this? And I guess I have to draw these cards, because what else am I doing? They could Meteor Sword and blow this up, like even in response to the trigger, to deny me an extra card. That didn't happen. I think I have to just let this go. Because Meteor Sword can kill Caracas, and then they're in business after that. Yeah, I'm starting to fall behind pretty hard here. All right, targeting my Caracas. I will deploy my Felia in response, at least tie up their Caracas for a turn. Aang Airbending Stoneforge Mystic isn't even good. Yorion put in hand. It's falling apart here. I wish I had the copious farm animals right now. How do I pretend to navigate this game? I guess Airbending Felia buys me a turn, but Yorion is there too, so not even really. And my window has passed. I did not apply enough pressure. Or I did, but they had a Wrath now. They're letting me into combat, probably because anything I target is bad for me. Like, do I want to let them Stoneforge again? Do I want to let them Formalware again? Formalware gets back Spirit of the Lab, but they could block with Stoneforge, and that's the same thing. All right. Yeah, I am just beat here. All right, I need some farm animals. Farm animals are coming in, consigned to memory. I need these tools. Ran out of time to figure it out last game, but now I'm gonna make the time. Ang might be mediocre, as their cards are so good. They all have ETB abilities, and most of them cost 2 anyway. That's a temporary speed bump. And I am bringing in 2 blue cards, so I'm not just abandoning Force of Will. And Starfield Shepherd is the reason for the season, but I think it is maybe shaveable. Shave one of them here. And I really think it's Quantum Riddler, but that leaves Force of Will kind of high and dry. And I boarded out 2 blue cards and boarded 2 in. We ended up in the same spot. Can I do better? Can I mess with Witch Enchanter or Sink into Stupor? And these are just calling to me like the Green Goblin Mask to be shaved. But they all have text on the front and the back in this matchup. Shepherd does get the Osla Pride and Guide of Souls, which is what I'm really trying to do in this matchup. Okay, Aang is also quite good versus Wrath of the Skies, because they don't get to pay X on the way back down. Okay, I'm going to go like this, and I don't feel great about it. Okay, I love this hand to keep. This is probably one more Felia than I really want. And I am going to get basic planes. Because if they have 2 wastelands, it's just too awful for me. A Ganjo, Aether Vial. Okay, so Guide of Souls will get to do something. Ooh, the Shep. I like that. An attack with my guide. Telegraph, the world's most obvious Felia. I want Felia down before I Starfield Shep so I can get a good flicker. Caracas, yeah, I've heard of that one. Is that a good one? Versus my hand with 3 legends in it? I'll still make you have it, or make you use it, because there are things they'd like to do with 2 mana as well, and if they're bouncing my Felia, then they're not playing their own, and I am gaining life and energy off of these Felia arrivals. Ooh, my own Caracas. Right, I'm going to warp Starfield Shep and tutor a Oslet Pride before making my land drop, and I'm going to go to combat and make them decide if they want to interact with Felia this turn. Then I'll second main Oslet Pride and start doing that thing. All right, bouncing Felia immediately. We don't even have to play that game. Right, now I can even charge up the Guide of Souls pre-combat, which does sink extra energy into something that they would like to remove anyway, but they had chances to cast Sword Splashers and didn't do it, so I'm going to move in here. Okay, the damage all went through. End step, okay, they're more worried about Ocelot Pride than Guide of Souls, sure. I guess I can buy that. But I do have a 3/4 flyer. That's a real body. We both have our Caracas. My 1 and 1 of their 4 are accounted for. Okay, they did not have a land drop, which is a little bit scary. That means their hand is all spells. A Vial in my upkeep. Yeah, I can blow up my Caracas. Oh, okay. This comes in tapped, right? It does. All right. I'll float a white. I would like to tutor my other planes. I do have exactly this many. And I guess I will commit Felia here. Make them commit Caracas. Right, Swords of Plowshares. Well, now I'm cooked in every direction. Wasteland is a draw I would like. Marsh Flats. I think what I'm supposed to do here is just Quantum Riddle. See another card. I'm not getting through this Caracas, even with instant speed tricks with this Felia. I'm looking for a Wasteland, and I think the window has already passed, having double plow for the 2 things I had going on, and the Caracas, but they're going to have Caracas most games. They play so many of them. Leaving Vial on 2. And if they have more White Orchid Phantoms, or they can flicker this one, it's actually going to be Strip Mine, and yeah, shit. Well, fuck. Shouldn't have fetched that basic plains on turn 1, I guess. There's no reason to blow up your own land here. That just doesn't do anything. Yeah. Now I'm in big trouble. I'm going to get taxed right out of here. No basic island in the deck. It's too terrible. It would be nice to have right now, but in general, it doesn't cast your spells. Like we've seen it with the sink into stupor land. Okay, deciding right now after I failed to find... yeah, okay. All right, we're on this plan. All right, not using the ability. Solitude. Okay, this game is unwinnable. GG's. Lost my window. We saw game 1 what it looks like when you do your thing, and we saw game 2 what it looks like when they have a single sweeper to interact with that thing. On to the next round. The BoshNRoll channel is proudly partnered with the Resleevables. In this YouTube series, hosts Patrick Sullivan and Patrick Chapin go set by set through Magic's past, leveraging their decades of experience as Pro Tour players and game designers to analyze the good, the bad, and the ugly of Magic's history. Each episode is a deep dive into the facts, mechanics, cycles, trivia, decks of the time, and historical context of the set. The hosts dig into notable cards of the era and their lasting impact today. Each set gets an award show where the hosts pick their favorite cards for categories such as Best, Worst, and Weirdest. And finally, give a letter grade for the set's overall success. Whether you want a history lesson or a nostalgia hit, The Resleevables has it at youtube.com/theresleevables. I'm on the play in round 4 with an unkeepable hand. I was just talking about how Basic Island is no good in the deck, and this hand would be phenomenal with a Plains, but I don't have one of those, so it is a mulligan instead of a keep. This is a keep, no matter what. I am keeping. What I put to the bottom is a little bit close. Like, if I think Riddler goes to the bottom, but Riddler is my pitch to force. That leaves me with this land drop, but does this land drop matter because it doesn't cast anything? Yeah, I think I'm going to bottom Riddler, and I'm going to lead on Guide of Souls. And I guess what I'm worried about here is Wasteland taking me off colored mana. Ancient Tomb. That's probably a good sign. Okay, well, I don't want to be taken off colored mana, like I said. And going Oslet Pride, Wasteland U feels insane here. Wasteland U, Pride, Fury could still get me. All right, here we go. Moment of Truth. Please don't have Fury. I think that's the only card I care about out of Red Stompy. Volcanic Fissure, tapped. And I did not get Furied, which means at least one thing will survive in the future if I get Furied. Unfortunately, 1 energy point short of making Fury. It's not irrelevant, but much worse. All right, we're back to the magic number. 1 ring. Okay, so I need to play a creature to gain life this turn. I hate this pause after the 1 ring. Like, they didn't quickly pass the turn. I think they found the Fury. And they just leave me with a cat token, and who cares? Yup. Okay, yeah, 1 energy short of this being not really a problem. And now instead it's a huge problem. And now I'm racing the 1 ring from 1 card in hand. Can I get a follow-up? Can I get a Starfield Shepherd right now? Mockingbird is not the follow-up I was hoping for. Do I even play this and make a cat token? No. All right, I'm going to play Soporific Springs tapped, and I'm going to pass. This Mockingbird could become a Broadside Bombardiers or something like that that actually impacts the clock instead of a giant nothing burger. Where were you last turn? I think Mockingbird wins the game on the spot last turn. Blood Moon, now I can never cast Mockingbird. Joke's on me. All right, literally uncastable cards flooding out now. This ring better kill them. That's all I got. And don't I feel foolish for not copying a cat token? Pyroglyph, that's pretty big. Killing my cat. That's messed up. Arid Mesa. I've got 4 mana now. Still can't do anything. And it's the 1 ring versus the world. Oh no, the double Pyroglyph. This will end the game quickly. This is 12 damage right now. Okay, they are exactly winning right now because they haven't tapped the ring. If they tap the ring, they have to win next turn. But if without tapping the ring, they can wait 1 turn to do it. Swords to Plowshares buys me some time, but lets them tap the ring again, which puts me back into the same spot. Replacement ring. All right, I'm going to let that resolve so they don't get to draw 4 cards. Because if I had plowed in response, they would have drawn 4 cards because they know it's free to do. This game is actually interesting because of the Blood Moon, and it's uninteresting because of the One Ring, but I think I could have gone through that One Ring if the Blood Moon was not there. I'm also fairly confident they drew Fury off of that first random One Ring draw because they would have Fury the turn before if they had it. All right, Farm Animals, Solitude, Consigned in Memory hits some of the stuff they do, but misses some other stuff. Momo, once again, you're out of here. Aang seems fine. Sink into Stupor seems actively bad as a card, but again, blue count is challenging. I think I'm going to suck it up and cut a Sink, and as much as I'd love a Force of Negation, I don't know where we find room for that. Consign counters Fury Trigger and One Ring on the stack. That might be good enough just between them, and scamming out a Riddler early could flip the combat math on this deck. Shepherd getting basic planes could matter versus Blood Moon. Yeah, the worst cards in the deck are the blue cards, and this is a matchup where Force of Will is pretty important. But I guess I'm going blue for blue here. And a Shepherd can become a Consign, then I'm +1 blue. Okay. This hand, again, no white mana. Gonna mulligan it. Simply doesn't work. I do like this hand. I'm going to keep, and I think I actually bottom the Solitude here because I want Force blue card and my next mana lined up. As good as Solitude is, I don't know that it's going to do what I need it to do here. Like Shepherd keeps the Oslet Pride going. Mockingbird can double Pride. Force fights the Fury. That would stop that. I am fetching basic planes here. I would like to ignore Blood Moon if possible. Like if they play Blood Moon here, I'll just play Sink into Stupor as a mountain and Warp Starfield Shepherd and move the game on that way. But if they don't, then I have access to Mockingbird. Yeah, Tundra. Do I want a second Pride here? I probably do. Or I could have a lot more Prides next turn if I Shepherd this turn. Ocelot Pride, get in. And then I can Shepherd for Guide of Souls and try to go completely nuts next turn. Okay, I'm putting a lot of faith in this Force of Will to counter their first important spell and then be far enough ahead after that happens. Pyrogoyf, I think that's going to be a no from me, dog. But that was the Force of Will. Now it's, can I get far enough ahead fast enough? Guide of Souls. Do I want a second Oslet or a second Guide? I think I want a second Ocelot. Though the Guide is the one with more toughness that also... Yeah, I think I do want a second Guide, actually. Attack, attack. And end step, I get a bunch of energy and triggers. That was the path to get more life and energy. Do they have any just like Pyroclasms in this deck? I don't think they normally do those. Oh shit. Well, there's one. Never mind. There is a Pyroclasm in the deck. It's that thing. All right, no sequence of what I did last turn would have beat that card. And now I need to just find something to do before my opponent does. Quantum Riddler's a good hit. A Starfield Shepherd's a good hit. Hey, Starfield Shepherd. Okay, warp this. And what card do I think is going to keep up? I could get the plane, so the next land is the next Shepherd, or I could get Guide of Souls and start trying to do stuff from 3 mana. And I think I kind of want to lock in my odds of having a Starfield Shepherd next turn. It puts my shields down, but random 1/1s and 1/2s with no support and no critical density don't seem like they're going to win this game. Fable. All right, there's Ocelot Pride right on time. I'll still take it. I'm going to put it into play. It seems to me like the metagame is pretty well adjusted to these Ocelot Pride things at this point. Like all of my opponents have had removal and sweepers, where a few months ago where the meta was more combo oriented, there might not have been room for that sort of thing. And it really does come down to, does a sweeper successfully get through or not? I don't really want farm animals, but I also can't beat Fable the Mirror Breaker once it flips, so I think I'm going to have to begrudgingly take them. My copious farm animals. So my opponent doesn't have copious copies of Fury. My boar, elk, bird, ox. My opponent is at 10, and I have a 3-power creature in play. And if they're just bricking over there, I have a chance to just limp over the finish line. Caracas. Unfortunately, Farm Animals is a 3-mana play. All right, Farm Animals get in. I am just going to play the Caracas out because there are sequences where I would like more mana in play next turn. Like if I hit, for example, Riddler, I could draw into enough ways to use mana that sandbagging the Caracas, bluffing like that I have something is not worth doing. The opponent has enough mana to do everything in the world, but they didn't do anything last turn or the turn before. Maybe just like don't have good stuff. Blood Moon is medium stuff. That does turn off my blue cards that I just mentioned by name. Starfield Shep, get in there. And I'm just going to play the other one. I am now fully pants down to Fury. I do have 3 energy already, though. So Guide of Souls can charge up. Like, if my opponent hadn't Blood Moon, I could have Shepherd pre-combat, charge up this Shepherd in combat. But Blood Moon, once again, proving itself to be pretty good against my nearly monocolor deck. Too many tech lands. All right, please don't cast Fury. Oh no, 5 is the number that card costs. I hate my life. Okay, Fury has arrived. I don't know if that was a strategic sandbag to get a 2-for-1, or if they just drew it. We may never know. Valley is a great rip, though. A Guide of Souls is 3 damage on board. Thalia could make this attack lethal, depending on what they leave back. Seems the answer is nothing. This is an attack for 8. I just have to take it. Thalia is actually lethal by itself if Guide of Souls is still around. Shatter Skull smashing. Smashing. You got me. Okay, end step Thalia. The top deck Guide of Souls gets it done. Or, you know, Tundra, whatever. Attack my opponent. Delete this goblin. We are currently both on a 1-turn clock. And I guess I will continue playing out Tundras. I have no reason not to. I can plow this Fury and give my opponent a lot of turns to figure it out, or I can be at 1 and roll the dice. All right, well, now I have to do something. Which of these am I more worried about? I have to decide before combat. The Fury is worth 6 right now. The broadsides are worth 8 over 2 turns. I think I'm more worried about broadsides. Okay, yeah, well, it was a lethal attack. I had to do something here. Like Fury, I can at least chump block, but the broadsides can pick off Thalia with a treasure token, or just kill me in 2 turns. Oh, no, they're still doing stuff. It's another confluence, just go to the face. Yep, alright, sweepers are bad news bears. Okay, got me again. These fangled opponents who have correct cards in their sideboard. It's hardly fair. On to the next round. We're a few rounds into the video. If you're still here and having fun, remember to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to play what I'm playing, use code BOSH for 5% off your order at toamagic.com. Eternal lives here. I'm on the play in the final round with a hand that can Force of Will twice, but doesn't do really anything else. I wish I knew if my opponent was a combo sicko or not. All right, this one I will keep. And I could abandon Thalia and let Guide Soul and let Riddler be either a blue card per force or a rebuild. Or I could abandon Ocelot Pride, and then I have Force Backup, Guide of Souls, Riddler, Thalia going on. But I don't actually have Force Backup because that's my land. I think I'm getting rid of Thalia here. Opponent's also on 6. I'll play my Guide of Souls and pass the turn. This one of Caracas has been, I believe, in my hand or in play every single game. Oh good, that double force hand looking nice now. Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual. Okie dokie, Artichoke. Do they have the pushback? Of course they do. Man, remember when I mulliganed 2 forces because the hand otherwise didn't function? I should be able to look at my opponent's deck before every round, and that would make it easier to keep hands. All right, just peeking at their list real quick. This is the Legacy tax right now. If you want to play 5 matches of Magic, you have to go through Oops All Spells at least once. That's just how it works. Yeah, this looks like pretty normal stuff. The no Poxwalker for an Archimeeba current build. Okay. You win, but I want you to know I mulliganed a hand that would have beat you. Emotional scoreboard. Okay, here's a bunch of stuff that I'm bringing in. Yeah, to the old 10 card sideboard. Swords to Plowshares out, Momo out. Witch Enchanter can probably go. I still have 21 lands plus Shepherd to tutor them, and I mostly rely on 1-drops. Though Shepherd doesn't seem that big here either. Even Felia I can shave on. I just need this berserk number of cards in my deck to even have a chance. So I'm not cutting any blue cards. In fact, I'm adding 4 blue cards to the deck. Here we go. I still have Aang Force, Mockingbird, Sink into Stupor if they're on a creature pivot. No lands or interaction here. Well, there is 1 land, but it's the wrong one. Mulligan, deck, please. My family's starving. I just boarded in 10 cards. Can I see any of them? I actually think I should have boarded out Wasteland instead of the Witch Enchanter that I did board out. Life total doesn't matter. White mana matters a lot. So this is actually a small optimization that I did not take advantage of. Okay. I'll keep this and bottom Meticulous Archive and Wasteland, I guess. And pass the turn. Do I think Force of Will beat in a 7-card keep out of Oops when they know I'm a blue deck? No, I do not. Petal. Cabal Ritual, that's 3 mana. This is 4 mana. Force pitching Mockingbird. And there it is. A fun match of Magic was played. I lacked the format knowledge to win it. Okay. I think that this deck is playing a bunch of new cards for the sake of trying new cards. And I think that rules in terms of people exploring the Legacy format. But in terms of making the best deck we can make, I don't think we're there. Maybe I just don't get Momo. But short of letting you have some turn 2 plays around days, or I guess a critical mass of 1-drops if you're interested in that. And the buff isn't even permanent. If this was a +1 counter, I could see Momo getting pretty big pretty fast, but that's not even really how it works. Not reducing Aang on your opponent's turn is a beating. I don't think I would play Momo. Aang is fine. Aang had some moments where he was about to be cool, but then opponent fought over it. But Aang did have the important text of being blue. I think I had one opponent concede to Aang on the stack. That might have happened in one of the early matches that I forgot about by now. Another alternative you could do is just not play blue cards. Losing to mulligans is there are functionally 7 lands in this deck that don't cast any spells. The Wastelands and the Sink into Stupors. 7 of your 23 lands don't cast spells is a tough place to be. I did happen to play against multiple dedicated mana denial strategies, which there aren't that many of in Legacy these days. But I did get cooked by Blood Moon and by triple White Orchid Phantom. I'm not sure if blue is worth the squeeze. And I guess there's also the possibility that Force of Will just belongs in the sideboard. We're not really supporting it well enough to cast it reliably anyway. And game 1 is the game where the opponent's not going to have any sweepers, and then they will have them game 2. Though winning a showdown over Felia is pretty important. I never went nuts with Felia at all. I think the only time Felia was even in play, my opponent conceded. That was against Eco Baronin. My only win, by the way, 1-4 beating Eco Baronin scoreboard. And then Felia arrived in the late game versus Death and Taxes, where my opponent could remove it but didn't care, which is a terrible place to be. The structural breakdown here for me is Sink into Stupor. This card is necessary to support Force of Will, but also we're not supporting Force of Will that well, and this doesn't really cast spells in the deck, and you can't keep a hand on the strength of it, where I would like to be able to keep 1-landers in a deck like this. You could probably even replace Force of Will with Daze straight up, because you're coming out of the gates so fast with these 1-drops that Daze is enough that they have to think about, and then you don't have to support this blue count with bad cards like Sink into Stupor. And when Daze starts to turn off, Aang starts to turn on. And obviously that's not going to help you versus like Oops All Spells, where you really want Force of Will specifically. But I just lost to Oops All Spells 2 one-turn games where I had Force of Will. So what are you even pretending that you're fighting here? I think if I was going to continue to explore the blue-white space, I would try 0 Force of Will 4 days, and then turn Sink into Stupor into playable Magic cards. Fun idea, though. Fun deck. I love Felia. I love how this little doggo is such a terrifying board presence in high-power formats. And I love Quantum Riddler. Starfield Shepherd was really cool, too. It's like Quantum Riddler, but you know what you're going to draw off the trigger. I'm going to leave this one here. It was a tough outing, but we did play against a bunch of prepared opponents. And if you're queuing into people who just have a bunch of Wrath of the Skies and Fiery Confluences and stuff after board, your deck that's built on flooding the board with 1/1s is going to struggle. Okay, I'm out of here. King of the Depths, thanks for asking me to play this. Everyone else, thanks for watching. Dominique Tudor, thanks for putting these cool ideas out into the internet where I can find them. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon to support the channel. I'll see you next time.